All right, happy Monday, everybody. My name's Crystal Holloman, joined here by First Alert meteorologist Justin Bradford. And if you can't tell, it's kind of a tale of two outfits going on right now. I just got back from lunch where it is super hot out. I'm wearing like a sleeveless shirt, and
I'm just trying to hide the sweat stains.
Oh, okay.
That's the big deal here. Hey, here's the big thing. So we have a lot of heat and humidity, right? That's been no secret. If you've been outside in the last couple of days, you know that to be true.
Oh, yeah.
Today has been the hottest and most humid so far, and tomorrow tops today. And so that's another thing we have to look forward to, if you will. The other thing about tomorrow is that in addition to the high heat and humidity, we also have a potential severe weather threat with strong storms. Doesn't look like tornadoes are going to be in the mix, but we do have the potential for damaging wind and also large hail. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here. So really, either way you look at it, it justifies a first alert weather day, because either we see heat index values topping 100 degrees, or we see them only in the mid 90s, and we have potential for severe storms. And so one of those two things is sure to happen tomorrow. If the storms never materialize, which is good, it will still feel like triple digits. So either way, Tuesday's the day to be first alert and weather aware.
We don't want to lose power and lose that air conditioning tomorrow.
Yeah, and the other big thing is we've had, obviously lots of folks have gone back to school and everything else, but there's after school activities, including sports starting up, whether it's football, soccer, or the like. I know I'm forgetting many, but there are so many activities going on. And the practices, both today and tomorrow, are going to be especially tough, especially those late afternoon. So think about your 4 or 5 p.m. practices. That's almost the peak heat of the day. We're going to be feeling like maybe 94 this afternoon by that time, and maybe near 100, 102, 104 tomorrow, depending on where you're at. And so it's going to be really, really tough. You're going to want, if you're watching this and you're a parent, send your kid with the biggest receptacle you can find with some water. They want to make sure you stay hydrated if you're outdoors in this type of weather.
Well, if you look, it's kind of hazy, and we've also been seeing this because of those wildfires too.
Of course,
so.
yeah, that's also been factoring in, but it all adds to the idea of heat, right? Wildfires might not directly tie to the amount of heat we receive, but boy, they sure do make a smoky appearance. And when you get the hazy conditions we've got outside today, a lot of this has more to do with the humidity, which is just so high this afternoon. And so that's something that we're observing out there. The temperature right now in Lansing is 86, but look at that feels like number, 91, and that's factoring a 70-degree dew point, which once again, a lot of us have risen to that, and they'll be in the mid-70s in spots tomorrow to go with even hotter temps. That's why we're going to push those feels like numbers close to 100 degrees. Once again, we're not even at the peak heat of the day right now. We've actually been underneath clouds for some portion of the day, and so for us to already be where we are, it's just a sign that we're still getting hotter as we head into the late afternoon. I wanted to mention, again, Tuesday, first alert weather day for mid-Michigan for multiple reasons. The first is the potential for the heat and humidity to combine to cause the feels like temperatures to move into the 100-degree range. The other side is going to be the potential for the storm threat. We'll talk about both of them, but here's the current heat index outside right now. You can see just about everybody is at 90 degrees, and frankly, Mason's update is yet to come in at 88, so it's probably more like 90 or 91 there as well. And so you're seeing 90s everywhere as far as it feels outside, and once again, that's just part of this forecast. The first alert for the high heat and humidity is there. 90 is the high today. Tuesday, it's lower 90s, but the heat index tomorrow is the big factor. So you see right here, this is going to be between 95 and maybe as high as 105 degrees in some spots. Now, a lot of those that get to the 103, 105, those are going to be down in Hillsdale County, Branch County, Lenawee as well. That's where you have a little bit of a higher chance to pump these numbers up a bit more. But even the bottom end of that range, feeling like 95 is not comfortable. So we're not even feeling like that outside right now. So you take what it feels like right now outdoors, right at this moment, and you add 5 to 10 degrees to that, that's what tomorrow is going to feel like. And so it's just oppressive humidity. This is about as close to tropical Florida, Miami weather as we ever get in the summertime even. And so normally we get the humidity, but it stays in the 80s and feels like the 90s. Now we're getting the humidity and it's in the 90s, feeling like the hundreds. And so that's what we'll deal with here. And as we mentioned, it does not take a lot to get storms to flare up. They develop very quickly in heat and humidity. The way that this setup works, and I'll describe it a little more as we're showing it to you in the graphics, but you basically have what is a big powder keg right over the top of us, all this energy, all this heat and humidity, and all it takes is one little prick to make everything pop. And when that happens, you can get really intense showers and storms to flare up. and that's a potential for tomorrow. The thing is, even if we never get the storms, which again would be good to avoid damaging storms, if we never get those, that just means we're allowed to bake all day in that heat and humidity, and it means that we have even a higher potential to see that excessive heat. And so either way, you're either going to be really, really, really hot tomorrow, or you're going to be just really hot and see the storms. Those are the two scenarios we have for us. Muggy meter, once again, is something that we did not really have to show a lot in the last week, but now we're bringing it back, and that's because you see here, as humid as I said, again, and I sound like a broken record, as humid as it is now, this needle is still going up towards tomorrow, and so that's what we have moving forward. Now we do get a brief reprieve on Wednesday, and then looks like on Thursday, Friday this kicks back up. But look at Saturday as well. At the end of this muggy meter, we're starting to dial it way back, and we go way back down into the comfy range.
Good.
And so that's going to be the happy zone for us, and how appropriate it takes us right into the holiday weekend where we get that extra day. Well, most of us here at News 10, a lot of us work on holidays, but for those of you at home who are watching, you probably are off for Labor Day, and we will be taking care of labor, of course, as is advertised. But again, temperature is going to be dipping off too. That'll feel a lot more comfortable for the weekend. So I wanted to show the hour-by-hour heat index here. So this is not the actual air temp, but this is the apparent temperature and how it will feel outside when you factor in the humidity. As you see, late today, a couple of us, which you see right now, are feeling like the 90s. Overnight, no relief as we stay in the 70s. But look at tomorrow. These numbers that pop back in, as soon as you start seeing the pink colors here on the map, now this is something to really pay attention to for tomorrow afternoon, especially if we don't get the morning little round of storms that some models are showing. If we wait until after we get into the late afternoon tomorrow, we might have to deal with both. And this certainly is the front end of the equation. The one thing you do notice, and maybe this is something if you wanted to play hooky from work, I'm not giving anyone a fair game to do so, but if you decided that was something you wanted to do, check out the Lake Michigan shoreline.
Ooh,
look at how much cooler the numbers are right along the lake. That's not a bad place to be on a Tuesday afternoon if you can help it. But once again, 100-degree feels like numbers here in the Lansing and Jackson areas and all across mid-Michigan. You see the coldest number on the map at 3 p.m. tomorrow with feels like is 98 degrees. That's almost 10 degrees hotter than we're feeling right now. And so, again, this is something that is going to bug us as we head into the daytime tomorrow. In addition, we talked about it a bit already. This is the severe weather threat for today and tonight. You see that it's highlighted out over mainly the upper Midwest across Lake Michigan. There is a bit of a risk extending into northwest Michigan as we head into late tonight. But really, even that dark green marginal you see here for us is really for close to dawn tomorrow morning. Now, as we go into tomorrow, you see this expand into the yellow here. That's a slight risk for all of us, so a little bit of an elevated opportunity for us to see strong to severe storms. And these likely are not going to come with much rotation. They'd be a big line of storms screaming across the area that is more likely to just produce some strong damaging wind gusts, and then also the potential for large hail. Because of how quickly these storms are able, with that high heat and humidity, I mentioned the powder keg that sits right over the top of us. You give it just a little poke and storms can flare up in a hurry. That rapid, quick vertical development can develop very large hailstones, and that could be something that we look at tomorrow as well. And so we're continuing to monitor that threat in addition to the heat and humidity. So here's the hour-by-hour forecast, and this is just what one model thinks moving forward. And so once again, getting to the upper 80s to near 90 this afternoon is what the air temps will do. We'll be even hotter than that. Again, and the fact that we've got that going on. I do see that we had a question here, and I did want to very quickly answer it, and I'm going to show it in the model here, coming from Becca. Missing out on the severe weather with the capping in place, yes. So that's something we talk about in the meteorological community, is we have what we call a cap, and that's where you have all that energy. Like I mentioned, you can call it a top, any kind. That's all kind of bottled up and ready to go, and all it takes is just an element of lift, something to flick the cap off, and then just allow all of that energy to rapidly expand upward, and that just calls for explosive storms. If we're able to get that little lifting mechanism, it could come in the form of a lake breeze developing off Lake Michigan. It can come as the form of a system screaming across the lake from the other side. Anything that's there to lift this energy up is going to be able to get some storms going. If we never get that tomorrow, it's good as far as storms, like we said, but it does mean that we deal with the heat and humidity all day instead. So here's the overnight. Staying in the 70s, and a notable thing about these temperatures, they're mid-70s, some upper 70s by sunrise tomorrow, and that's not even accounting for the humidity, which will make it feel like the 80s when you get out of bed tomorrow morning. So that's already a very steamy start. You see that this model wants to bring in a cluster of showers and storms overnight. That is possible, but I think it is less likely than the second one that you'll see in our hour by hour here. So again, this model is showing that by 9 a.m. tomorrow, we've got this line screaming in, and that would have the potential for severe weather. I think that is less likely to occur than what happens later, which, as you see here, we go through a very hot afternoon, temperatures warming up, but the humidity is much higher, even though these numbers don't look much higher tomorrow. We're dry towards the end of the day, but into the late evening and overnight, a second round comes screaming in, and this might be, if that's when the front decides to drop in, that could be when we finally use up all the energy. So you could just have to deal with both. We could end up dealing with the near 100-degree heat index tomorrow during the day, and then after the sun goes down, we could or close to it, we could potentially deal with some severe weather then as well. And so that's sort of what we're looking at across the area here. As we get towards our Wednesday, things really kind of quiet down quite a bit, and you'll see that here. We're still near 70 to wake up, and so still have those types of conditions, but again, heading back into the less humid conditions late Wednesday. And so a quick wrap up here in the 10-day temperature trend shows the cooling down that is coming. This is the sweet relief we are looking for. The 10-day forecast shows it here. After we get through a couple of storms on Friday, which we hope are out of here for Michigan State football, we get a beautiful weekend for Labor Day, still near 80 Saturday and Sunday for those of you looking to spend time outside. And I will tell you what, I will take lower 70s next week early. Oh. That sounds like sweet relief. Overnight lows dipping into the 40s once again. And so the heat doesn't last forever. In fact, a week from now, maybe this will be all but a wonderful distant memory.
I hope so, because I am ready for the cool down, like Becca said. She wanted to know if this is going to be our last of the heat for the summer. She's also ready for the fall and cooler temps.
Mm-hmm. I see that. Yeah, I hear you there, and I also see your last question too about the stabilizing. Yes, if morning storms come through, we could stabilize the atmosphere, but if the sun stays out, we always talk about that. If the sunshine does poke out tomorrow, even if a morning round comes through, there's so much energy there, we could turn it over again late in the day as well. And so that's something to be considered. If the storms come through and then it's cloudy a lot of the day, then we might not have to deal with the next round. But the other thing to consider is that's all stuff when it's locally, when it grows right up out of the soil here in mid-Michigan. If there's something that comes into our area from across the lake that survives the trek from Wisconsin, it could be cloudy or sunny here. If that thing really gets ahead of steam, it could come through either way. And so we're monitoring that potential. Weather models typically don't do a really great job forecasting those. And so we're using our expertise, myself and the rest of the First Alert Weather team here in mid-Michigan, to just try to craft an accurate forecast. And so while we don't have everything completely nailed down yet, even though this is a tomorrow event, be sure to tune in with us this evening as more updates come in and we really get a clearer picture. Make sure you're checking in and staying up to date with us as we go throughout this.
Yep. Sorry, that's Studio 10. My bad. Yes. You can stay up to date with them too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? But you can also find all of our social media. You guys have been great about posting stuff on that whenever there's an update. And you can also download the free News 10 Plus app on all of these platforms. And that's where we will go live. You can find all of the stories that we've done so far. Becca did have one more question about with the morning storms.
Oh yeah, that's the one I just answered there too. Yep.
I didn't understand
all
the weather.
Good. Crystal's got so much, the people at home don't realize, so much going on here trying to get the next thing set up so that we can transition very nicely. And so
while sweating and being very,
it's tough. Even in the newsroom here, it's pretty toasty. There's not much we can do when it's this hot outside.
No, I mean.
But we'll be back first at 4 and also Studio 10 where they got a great show today too.
Yep. So, okay, Becca wants to know, do we think this is the last of the heat? It's kind of hard to say in Michigan.
It is, yeah. I will say it'll be tough to get feels-like temperatures back to 100 again as we get into September. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not likely. I think if we do get any sort of heat wave in September, maybe we get back close to 90 feels like again. But to get the heat that we're seeing today and tomorrow, this might be the last go-round. I certainly hope it is, but of course, if there's anything that changes in the weather, then we'll be the first people to let you know, give you that first alert so that you're weather aware. And of course, thanks for all your questions. I think next week, that's a cool down. I know you said yourself, Becca, we're looking forward to that over here.
Yeah.
Those temperatures are going to be really nice. Labor Day often marks the unofficial end of summer, even though technically it goes into later September. But, you know, that kind of early fall feel, similar to the one that we had last week, I'm here for those. I love those any time of year. So
and we've been kind of lucky. We haven't had too many like
Yeah.
really hot, muggy days where it's
Right.
been really, really hot this summer.
Yeah.
I've had a couple where they were like, mid 90s,
Mhm.
low 90s where it felt like pretty gross, but
Yeah, earlier in the summer we dealt with a lot of severe storms as well, but we never really had
oh, I know.
a huge amount of both heat and humidity at once. Like last year we had like 9 or 10 days that reached 90 degrees and had higher heat index values. This year we've only had like 3 of those, so it's been a little bit of an improvement in my opinion.
So with the instability and everything, is there a risk of tornadoes?
I think it's low. I mean,
Okay.
it's we can never completely rule it out, but I'm about as close as I can be to ruling it out. I mean, it's more with these types of events. You get big vertical systems to develop, and they tend to just spit out a ton of hail and a big amount of rain, and then they die out just as fast as they form. But a bunch of them keep forming, and so that tends to be the setup that we have here with a really hot and unstable air mass. And so we'll kind of see how the cap is able to hold. I kind of hope it is, because I'm okay dealing with 100 degrees, just finding a way to stay cool. For the folks who don't have a way to stay cool, don't have air conditioning, search your local communities for cooling centers, other places you can go. At the very least, if you got the ability, you can go to like Walmart or something and walk around there for a while.
Also, Jackson Area Transit Authority is
Yes,
providing free
right.
rides on their air-conditioned buses, so,
Yeah, and so
that's a good one too.
yeah, just go and hop in and drive around the city and stay cool.
Yeah,
It's nice to do.
See the city while you're not driving. You can actually look around and do it,
Yeah,
and you can text
course.
while they're riding,
I know.
which is great.
It's wonderful.
So check that out. We'll also have a list of cooling centers on our website, WILX.com. And so that's going to wrap it up for this weather update. You'll see Justin on Studio 10 at 3 o'clock, and then also first at 4. We're going to switch over in about 20 seconds here to former President Donald Trump speaking to the National Guard Association in Detroit. Until then, stay cool, everybody. Make sure you download that First Alert Weather app. It's going to keep you updated on the storms coming through, the heat, all of that, and it's
Yeah.
free. So check that out. Justin, thank you so much for your expertise on
course,
that.
yeah.
I appreciate it, and we will see you in a little bit.
Yep, more to come.